Welcome to Daily with Doc and Becca. This program is for educational purposes only. The statements in this program have not been evaluated by the FDA. The content is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any diseases, nor is it intended to take the place of your primary care physician. Testimonials are shared as individual experiences of the individual sharing their testimony. Results vary and may not be typical. We do not make any claims regarding health or income. As an empowered individual, you do have options available. We are honored to have the founding father of the science of epigenetics guiding us with the best options to obtain or maintain optimal health, Dr. Joel Wallach. Hello, everybody. Let's go ahead and open up that waiting room and let people in, as yes, we are a live Zoom live meeting with Q&A after our opening dialogue. So hello and welcome everybody to Daily with Doc and Becca. My name is Becca Dukes and today is Pharmacist Fridays on Daily with Doc. And as we have an amazing pharmacist who we just absolutely love, and probably of the medical community, I may love him the most. But anyways, Pharmacist Ben Fuchs is a nutritional pharmacist from Colorado. He specializes in nutritional supplements and other healthcare when other care practitioners use toxic solutions, he uses nutrition. So he is a member of the Longevity Scientific Advisory Board. He's a health expert and a frequent guest on our dear program, Coast to Coast AM with George Norrie. He doesn't just think, he knows that the body is a healing and regenerating system designed divinely to heal and renew itself, folks, at a moment-by-moment basis. So he encourages us all to take charge of our biochemistry through food and supplements rather than allowing toxic prescription drugs to take charge of us. So it is my honor and privilege to bring to the screen with me one of my mentors, my friends, who is just absolutely someone that gets lots. Every time we do a show, Ben, people are like, when is Ben going to be on again? Well, I'm so glad that we're able to have you pretty much on a weekly basis and sometimes multiple times during the week because Pharmacist Ben Bites with AJ is kind of fueled by Daily with Doc. So thank you so much, Ben, for being on with us today. How are you?
I'm good. Good to see you, Rebecca. Happy holidays. And all
Thank you, you as well. Lots of stuff going on. And in addition to lots of things going on when it comes to sharing recipes and stuff that may not be good for us, there's also a lot of information about nutrients going around that may not be, well, and in many cases are total factual. But like, let's take, for instance, omegas. Omegas can go rancid very quickly, which can be harmful within the body, but it has to do with process. So will you dig deeper into that for us? Like omega-3, that's supposed to be anti-inflammatory.
Oh my gosh, there's so much confusion. There's so much confusion. First of all, big plug for my fat friend, Udo Erasmus. I don't know if you could see this book. Is it reversed?
It says fats heal.
Fats that heal, fats that kill.
Okay.
Okay, this is the classic book on fats, uh, written by my friend Udo Erasmus of Udo's Blend. And I first started reading this in the 1980s. It's now in its probably 25th edition. Comes out every couple of years. And this is very easy to read, and it's got everything you need to know about all kinds of fats, first of all. And that's a good thing because fats are very confusing. Fats are the most confusing of all the subjects when it comes to nutrition. Actually, minerals and then fats. And the reason has a lot to do with nomenclature, naming. And that's kind of when you start talking about omega-3s and omega-6s, something I wanted to bring up. First of all, we use the term omega-6 and omega-3 synonymously with EFAs. This is a mistake. It's a misnomer. Omega-3s are a chemical structure. There's lots of different molecules that can be said to be omega-3. Technically speaking, omega-3 refers to a double bond. Well, I'm not going to get into what that really means, but you can think of just two lines like this connecting atoms on the 3 position, and omega-6 refers to a double bond on the 6 position. And I'm going to leave it at that without getting into too much biochemistry. But the reason I bring that up is to say that just because something has an omega-3 chemical structure, in other words, double bonds at the 3 position, or omega-6, double bonds at the 6 position, doesn't make it an essential fatty acid. There are only 2 essential fatty acids. They call them alpha linoleic acid and linolenic acid. Or excuse me, alpha linolenic acid and linoleic acid, and it gets very confusing. So just think ALA and LA. Those are the only 2 essential fatty acids, although over the last maybe year or so, maybe 2 years, a 3rd fat has come out, and some people are calling it essential, and that's omega-15. But we won't go there. That's just to give you a little heads up that you may start hearing about this new fatty acid called omega-15, which is being referred to as essential. But for now, convention has it that there's just 2 essential fatty acids. There's lots of omega-3s, there's lots of omega-6s, but there's just 2 essential fatty acids, linoleic acid and alpha linolenic acid, LA and ALA. And so I'm going to call them LA and ALA, but just so you know, when people talk about omega-3, they're generally referring to ALA, and when they talk about omega-6, they're generally referring to LA.
Now, Ben,
yeah.
I'm sorry. So essential fatty acids, okay, that's a name. Now, when you say that there's only 2, can you give us a little more definition of that and your essential and how you're referring to them as essential?
Okay, so the word essential means you have to make it. I'm sorry, you cannot make it. It has to come in from the diet.
Okay.
Right? So minerals are all essential. You can't make minerals. So they're all essential. You can't make vitamins. They're all essential with some slight exceptions. You can't make certain 11 or so amino acids. Those are said to be essential amino acids. And then there's 2 fatty acids, which are said to be essential. In other words, essentiality refers to the fact that you have some kind of disease if you're missing it. If I happen to be missing, let's see, if I happen to be missing, let's say, CLA, conjugated linoleic acid, from my diet, I'm not going to die. If I'm missing EPA or DHA, which are derivatives of essential fatty acids, I'm not going to die. But if I'm missing LA or ALA, eventually death will ensue. But before then, disease states I'll begin to suffer from symptoms of disease states, such as dry skin, which is a classic example of an EFA deficiency state. And how many people do you know have dry skin? Pretty much everybody. Itchy skin the same way. Hormonal issues can arise from omega fatty acid deficiencies. Inflammatory issues of all kinds, including arthritis and joint diseases and accelerated aging, can also arise from essential fatty acid deficiencies. So deficiencies, essential nutrients have deficiency symptoms associated with them. That's kind of the definition. If you're missing an EFA or missing an essential nutrient, amino acid or whatever, you're going to have symptoms. Ultimately, you'll die. That's how you define essentiality. Make sense? It's like air. I always like to compare it with air. What happens if you don't have air? You die. Air is essential, right? Or oxygen is essential. So essentiality refers to you have to have it or you die. There's only two fatty acids that meet that criteria. Linoleic acid and alpha-linolenic acid. LA has a chemical structure that we refer to as an omega-6. ALA has a chemical structure that we refer to as omega-3. So really, those of us in the business, we really shouldn't be saying omega-3 and omega-6. We should be saying, when we're referring to these molecules, we should be saying LA and ALA. Okay? If we say, convention has it, and colloquially, people refer to omega-3 as ALA and omega-6 is LA, but that causes some confusion because there's a lot of things that are omega-3, and there's a lot of things that are omega-6 that doesn't make them essential. So far, so good?
So far, so good.
So a lot of the confusion has to do with nomenclature, naming. All right, now you got LA and ALA, two essential fatty acids. In nature, they're found in a balance where you have a lot more, nobody really knows the ratios, but you have a lot more LA than you do ALA. The body has a lot more LA than ALA. In fact, ALA is almost like a little sprinkling, like a condiment on your hamburger or hot dog, and LA is like the hot dog. The meat is the LA, and then ALA is a condiment. And in nature, LA is found everywhere. ALA is not found everywhere. And this creates a problem because most people are getting way, way more LA than ALA. The oils that we eat for the most part are commodity oils, soy, sunflower, corn, wheat, even the fancy ones like macadamia nut and hazelnut and peanut. All of these are very rich in LA versus ALA. So most people are getting oils that contain LA much more than they're getting foods that contain ALA. And this is what some nutritionists are starting to say, or they've been saying for a while, is that we get way too much LA compared to ALA. And so there's a lot of nutritionists who, little knowledge is a dangerous thing, who will say to completely avoid LA because you get plenty of it and just focus on ALA. Okay, makes sense? I'm going to keep stopping to say makes sense because it is such a confusing subject. Okay, makes sense?
Well, there's a lot to it. So
there's way more. There's way more. So I'm going to stop periodically and just ask you if this makes sense. I'll just use you as representative of everybody else. Okay, Rebecca?
Okay.
I can't really see everything. Okay, so in nature, LA oils are foods, oils, and most of these essential fatty acids, by the way, are found in fatty foods, like vegetables that make grains. And grain oils and nut oils, they call them now seed oils. Grains are seeds. You've heard that term, seed oils, are mostly going to have LA in them versus ALA. So you hear some nutritionists say, don't worry or avoid LA oils because you get plenty of them. Focus on ALA oils. Now, there's a problem there, a couple problems there. First of all, even though we do get the oils that contain LA, what do we do with our oils? Typically, we heat them. We cook with them. We fry them. Even before we heat them and cook with them and fry with them, they're processed at the factory, usually with heat. Sometimes with solvents and heat. And so while we do get the oils that should contain the LA, because we're processing them, we don't even get the LA. Because these EFA oils are extremely unstable. In fact, all fatty acids are unstable. And this is why Dr. Wallach, as always ahead of the curve, has been saying for years, don't cook with your oils. Don't heat your oils. Don't eat oils that have been heated and processed. Because distorted oils are among the most toxic things a human being can put in their body. Among the most pro-aging things a human being can ever put in their body. Among the most cell-damaging things that a human being could ever put in their body are heated processed oils. Now, these essential fatty acids, like all nutrients, are valuable because they're unstable. It is instability which makes a molecule valuable. If a molecule is like a rock and stable, it's not going to do anything. Instability is part and parcel of value because instability means an ease of entering into chemical reactions. Are you with me? And nature has addressed this in its seeds where you find these oils by putting protective molecules around the otherwise unstable fatty acid. And you will always find vitamin E, for example, around in nature, around these seed oils. And this is why cleverly formulated essential fatty acid supplements will always have vitamin E with it. And that includes our Ultimate EFA and Ultimate EFA Plus. So these molecules are very, very unstable. And in fact, it is the very instability that makes them so valuable. So you can't have value without an inherent instability. And that creates a problem. That's why you got to be really, really careful with these molecules. And there's not nutritional molecules, and there's no nutritional molecules that are more unstable, and hence, by the way, more valuable than these fatty acids, LA and ALA, what we call omega-6 and omega-3. So number one, people will say you're getting too much LA or you get plenty of LA. Don't worry about LA. Get ALA. Number two, even if we're getting the oils that should have the LA in it, most people are going to be deficient in LA because we cook and we process these things, these fats. And number three, you need more LA than you need ALA. There's way more LA in your body than there is ALA. It's LA that is largely responsible for the flexibility of cell membranes. And this is one of the most important roles that essential fatty acids play. Essential fatty acids are oxygen magnets. This oxygen magnet property makes them very unstable because that means they're prone to oxygen reactions, which is called oxidation. This is really what the problem is. Oxidation distorts the fats. And because these things suck up oxygen very readily, they're very prone towards oxidation or instability. But also, because they suck in oxygen very readily, they're oxygen magnets, they're also incredibly valuable for the health of the cell. Why? Because they're sitting as part of the cell membrane, the covering on the cell, and the oxygen magnet property pulls oxygen to the cell. So now you have a system for drawing oxygen, very important for cell chemistry, obviously, into the cell by virtue of this magnet, this EFA magnet that's in the membrane. So omega-6s, largely omega-3s to a certain extent also, but omega-6s for the most part act as oxygen magnets. Omega-6s are also building blocks or precursors for very important moisturizers in the skin. They get converted into molecules that you may have heard of called ceramides. Ceramides have gotten a little press lately in the last couple of years. There's a skincare company that puts ceramides in their product, and you're starting to hear a little bit about ceramides. Ceramides are derivatives of omega fats, of ALA and LA. Both 3s and 6s, LA and ALA, get converted into ceramides, but a lot more LA, so-called 6, is much more of a ceramide building block, or there's more ceramides that are associated with this raw material, this omega-6 raw material. So we find that EFAs, particularly omega-6s, are very important for skin softness and skin moisturization. I'm particularly partial to this fact because I'm in the skin business, as you know, and I'm always struck by the fact, and a lot of these things that we're talking about, these problems that we have in health, are hidden in plain sight, and this is a classic example. We have, when everybody has dry skin, or when people have dry skin, what's the first thing they grab? A moisturizer, so-called moisturizer, right? And everybody's using moisturizers, and probably people on this call all have moisturizers in your purse and in your locker and in your medicine cabinet. Maybe you have 2 in your medicine cabinet. You got 1 in your office and a couple in your car and 1 in your purse. And most people have 5, 6, 7, 8 different moisturizers. We sell $4 or $5 billion of moisturizing products in this country. And everybody has dry skin. What the heck's going on? The reason is a moisturizer is nothing of the kind. A moisturizer doesn't provide any moisture. Moisturizers should be called slickerizers, because what they do is they give you a little slick sensation on the surface of the skin that we, in our silly human brains, consider to be moisture. I don't know how that happened. That's a magic trick of the highest degree to turn this slick sensation into this idea that you've moisturized your skin. On the other hand, if you start supplementing with these building blocks for making skin moisturizers, you will make your own skin moisture. You'll make your own ceramides. You should never need a moisturizer, and even worse, moisturizers suppress skin chemistry, so the more moisturizer you need, the more moisturizer you use, the more you need. EFAs, on the other hand, particularly omega-6s, LA, are nature's moisturizers. So everybody with dry skin, get on the ultimate EFAs. They should be called the ultimate skin moisturizers, or at least in parentheses, because that's what they are. They're true moisturizers by acting as building blocks for your skin's natural moisturizers. But it's more than that. The most important role for these omega fats, let me just say this real quick, and then I'll take your question here, is they control, I'll say this really, really, really slowly because it's very important. Omega-3 and omega-6, what we call omega-3 and omega-6, or linoleic acid and alpha-linoleic acid, LA and ALA, are nature's aspirin. They control the healing process, which means if you're coming from surgery, or if you have a wound, or you're recovering from a burn, or you just want to be healthy and slow down the aging process, because inflammation obviously is part of the inflammation, anti-inflammation are part of the aging process. Ultimate EFA and Ultimate EFA Plus are absolute must-haves, non-negotiable. They control the inflammatory and anti-inflammatory process. They're nature's aspirin, and every time a doctor says to take a baby aspirin, you'd be better off taking ALA or your Ultimate EFAs. They do the same thing, except they do the same thing with multifunctionality rather than aspirin, which is a medicine and a drug that has to be detoxified. Go ahead. I'm sorry, Rebecca.
No, I'm sorry, but I just wanted you to repeat something and why again, because I want to make sure people understand and hear this. You said the more lotion you put on your skin,
hidden in plain sight. You know this. You know this. You use lotion, right? Has your lotion cured your dry skin? No.
No.
It makes it worse. And by the way, you may know this. I worked for Blistex. That's where I learned how to do skin. There are people who can't go 15 minutes without putting their Blistex on. The more, and because the lips are like super skin, they're sticking sort of out. So nature has equipped them with everything that's in your skin plus more. So your skin has moisture factors, ceramides and such in them, but your lips have way more because they're sticking out and they're more subject to environmental forces. So the lips are like a poster child of the skin. They're like a super example of the skin. And we know that there are people probably on this phone call that can't go 10 or 15 minutes without putting chapstick on or lipstick or Blistex on. And that's because they're suppressing their lips' moisture factors. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Well, I have a couple teenagers that I'm going to specifically send this to.
Yes.
And that's why we do this.
EFAs. All dry skin issues should be regarded as EFA issues. Also, all inflammatory issues, particularly menstrual and female health issues. It's no accident that women will crave fats right around the time of their period, because you're burning through fats as part of the inflammatory process, not to mention that these LA and ALA are also involved in the production of steroid hormones. So they also play a role in the production of estrogen and testosterone and progesterone and DHEA and cortisol and all of your steroid hormones. There's way more here. Okay, so they're nature's aspirin. They're involved in the production of moisture factors. They're a critical component of the cell membrane. They play a role in female health issues, female and male health issues, hormonal health issues, we'll say. But there's more. As it turns out, EFAs, omega-6 and omega-3, or LA and ALA more accurately, are like natural statin drugs. They can help lower cholesterol like a statin drug does. Say, oh my God, my doctor never told me that. He shouldn't tell you that. That's not his job. He's not a nutritionist. That's our job. It turns out that your Ultimate EFA and your Ultimate EFA Plus are also antiarrhythmics for the heart, for fibrillations, and for tachycardias. They're also natural antihypertensives. They naturally help lower blood pressure. They're natural anti-atherosclerotics. They help reduce atherosclerosis, which is the leading cause of heart disease. They're generally cardioprotective and generally heart protective. And they're also, as I said earlier, anti-inflammatory, and they're anti-inflammatory, which is very important because a lot of times you'll hear people say that LA are inflammatory and ALA are anti-inflammatory, and that's true. LA and ALA get converted into master hormones, which are technically referred to as eicosanoids. Don't worry about that fancy schmancy term. It's like a master hormones. And these master hormones are the mediators of inflammation and anti-inflammation. The reason this is important is because you cannot have anti-inflammation until you start the process off with inflammation. So this inflammation, anti-inflammation balance is important because you can't have healing without initial inflammation. In healthy circumstances, inflammation leads to anti-inflammation, and the eicosanoids, or the master hormones that are produced from omega-6s, or LA more accurately, are important for initiating the anti-inflammation that's associated with ALA. I hope I'm not getting confusing, and it's understandable if it is, because there's so much here. And this is why people really don't understand how to work with these things. You don't know how much you need when it comes to balance. It's probably best to take a generous amount. And one of the cool things about the Ultimate EFA and Ultimate EFA Plus is they're pre-balanced for you. And while they recommend on the bottle, the instructions say 3 capsules a day, I say take 9 or 12 capsules a day. And personally, I take 12 capsules a day at least. Sometimes I'll take 15 capsules a day. And they're part of I use the EFAs, Ultimate EFA and EFA Plus as part of my qualifying supplements, because I use so many of them, along with the glucogel caps, by the way. So you have omega-6, omega-3. Omega-6s are technically, omega-6s are the chemical shape or form that LA, which is the essential fatty acid, has. And then omega-3 is the shape or the chemical structure that alpha-linolenic acid has. LA is associated with inflammation. ALA is associated with anti-inflammation. And this is where this, let me say one last thing. There are two, as if it's not confusing enough, there are 2 omega-3s that are not essential. Your body can make them. That are derived from ALA. I'll say that again. There are 2 omega-3s that are not essential, that are derived from ALA. So why am I even saying this? Well, it turns out that these 2 omega-3 fatty acids, non-essential, that come from ALA are stupendously valuable, particularly for the nervous system. And these 2 omega-3 shapes that are non-essential, that are incredibly important for the nervous system. By the nervous system, I mean the brain and the eyes, as well as the peripheral nerves in your hands and your feet and toes and fingers and extremities, are called EPA and DHA. You may have heard these terms. EPA.
I was going to try to take a guess, and I would have been right. So
okay,
good.
I should have let you guess. EPA and DHA are not essential. Your body can make them. They come from ALA, which gets the moniker omega-3 inaccurately, or semi-accurately, because it is an omega-3. And these are found, EPA and DHA, are found in high concentrations in fish oil. So when you hear people say, oh, I take fish oil, what they are referring to is the DHA and the EPA, which are non-essential, and perhaps a little bit of ALA, because fish eat one of the most important sources of ALA. which I'll tell you what they are in a second. So when people say, oh, I take fish oil, what they're really meaning is I take EPA and DHA, which are omega-3s, but non-essential, which is why you really want to get this nomenclature right, because somebody says, oh, I'm taking omega-3s from fish oil. They're not getting the EFAs. They're getting the derivatives of the EFAs. There is a slight amount of ALA in fish oil, but there's no real standardization. Nobody really knows how much. It's mostly EPA and DHA. Now, and they're still very important, especially for pregnant women, EPA and DHA, and also for nursing women, because they help build a baby's brain and a baby's nervous system in general, vision, hand-eye coordination, and such. So EPA and DHA, I don't mean to imply that they're not valuable. They're very valuable, but they can be made. Now, to further complicate the situation, they're not made very readily. You have to be firing on all biochemical cylinders in order to make EPA and DHA. So it's still a good idea to supplement with fish oil, even if you're taking ALA from its master sources, which is usually going to be flax seeds or hemp seeds or chia seeds. It turns out that grass and seaweed are also good sources of ALA. But human beings don't eat grass. So we can't really get it from grass unless we get grass-fed dairy or grass-fed cattle, which are good sources of ALA from the grass and from the grass that the cattle are eating. So grass-fed animals tend to have higher concentrations of ALA, and this is why you always want to go grass-fed if possible. These kinds of animals eat grass. That's their native food. Their native food is not corn and grain and soy and the kind of foods we feed them. In fact, because omega-6 seeds or grains are so abundant and so cheap, farmers feed their cattle, which should be eating grass, omega-6, which should be eating omega-3 rich grass, we'll say. Farmers are feeding them omega-6 rich foods, grains, especially corn, which creates an out of balance meat and an out of balance milk, which we all, of course, ingest. So omega-3s, ALA, are found in the foods animals should be eating, but omega-6s are found in the food that the animals are eating. And this also includes fish, because fish should be one of nature's best sources of these omega-3 derivatives, EPA and DHA, but as with cattle, fish, which are farmed like cattle, now they're not, most of the fish we eat are farmed fish actually, are fed grains and omega-6 rich foods. So even the fish, which should have the ALA for omega-3s in it, are now corrupted. Their fatty acid profiles corrupted because they're eating corn. Can you imagine fish eating corn and soy and pellets? That's what they eat. That's what they feed them when they have farm-fed fish. So for all of these reasons, getting on your Ultimate EFA and Ultimate EFA Plus is an absolute must. Now, the video that you wanted me to watch was, as many of the videos that you see on YouTube, not 100% accurate. So this gentleman, what he's saying is, on the video, and I don't know if everybody saw the video, Rebecca, or if you talked about
they did
the video.
not.
Okay, so he's on there saying don't use omega-3s. Now he's like most people, he confuses omega-3 for ALA, and he uses the term omega-3, but he means ALA. We're going to assume he means ALA. And he says don't eat it because why? It's unstable. It breaks down. And when an oil breaks down, it forms a distorted molecule, which is very unhealthy. And he's right there. However, there's ways to protect the molecule. This is why gel caps are so valuable. The gel caps protect the molecule. And that's why supplements are such an effective way to get your EFAs because they don't break down in the gel cap. If you want to get your EFAs from a liquid, keep it in the fridge and keep it in a dark bottle, and you'll get some, and use it fresh, and you'll get some protection. But this guy was off in the sense that you can protect, and you should protect the ALA molecule in a gel cap. In foods, as Doc's been saying for years, you have to be very careful about how you cook your eggs, or how you cook your fish, or how you cook your meat, or how you cook anything that's going to contain high concentrations of ALA and LA, because they're so fragile. In fact, even your body heat can start the breakdown of these essential fats, ALA and LA. Just the heat from your body will do it, which is why you always want to make sure you're taking protective molecules with your fats. I mentioned vitamin E as a protective molecule. Your ultimate selenium has protective effects for fats. There are phyto-plant nutrients that have protective effects for fats. Coenzyme Q10 has protective effects will have protective effects for fats. And vitamin C will have protective effects from fats, which is all to say, when you're taking your ultimate EFAs, take them as part of the Healthy Start pack or any of the other packs, because you'll get the protective molecules with your ultimate EFAs. And this is just another reason why taking your nutritional supplements as in a group, as a system, is so valuable. And this is why the Healthy Start packs are so valuable, or all the packs are so valuable, because they've been the products have been selected, and the packs have been selected to provide a balance so that all the molecules, all the particular nutrients help each other and stabilize each other. So you've got, just a quick recap, omega-3 and omega-6 is an inaccurate term if you're really talking about essential fats, because there's lots of omega-6 and lots of omega-3s that are not essential. Technically speaking, omega-6 essential fatty acid is called LA, linoleic acid, and omega-3 essential fat is called ALA, alpha-linolenic acid. Alpha-linolenic acid is found in seeds like chia seeds, hemp seeds, hemp seeds, and also flax seeds. Flax seeds are probably the most well-known source of alpha-linolenic acid. Alpha-linolenic acid derivatives, EPA and DHA, are found in especially high concentrations in fish oil. LA, linoleic acid, is found everywhere. And there's way more LA in your body than there is ALA. LA has a rev you up effect, also associated with inflammation. ALA has a calming effect, also associated with anti-inflammation. Before anybody gets all freaked out about the term inflammation, understand that inflammation is a precursor or precedent to anti-inflammation. And the healing process is initiated with inflammation. And this, by the way, is one of the reasons why anti-inflammatory drugs can be so problematic when you take them chronically. In the short term, you may get some pain relief, but when you take them chronically, they'll slow down healing, because you can't have healing without initial inflammation. So if you're taking aspirin or naproxen or Indocin or whatever, the latest Motrin, whatever the latest anti-inflammatory drug is, you're running the risk of suppressing healing and staying on your anti-inflammatory for a long time, because your body can't go into healing. So inflammation is, before we get off on the whole idea of, oh, this is bad because it's inflammatory, we have to understand that inflammation is a precedent to anti-inflammation, which is why you need both omega-6s and omega-3s, although most people get plenty of the oils that should contain omega-6s, even though when we cook our omega-6s, we don't get our omega-6s because they're distorted, which is to say, get on your ultimate EFA and ultimate EFA plus if you are dealing with any kind of fat issue, or even if you just need, you want to make sure you have your Mighty 90 essential nutrients. But particularly if you're dealing with menstrual issues, inflammatory issues, dry skin issues, cholesterol or atherosclerosis or cardiovascular health issues, all of which can be helped by using essential fatty acids of the LA and ALA variety. So you can kind of see how this can get very, very confusing. Bottom line is, as much as I love talking about biochemistry and love talking about nutritional chemistry, you don't need to know all this stuff. get on your Ultimate EFA and Ultimate EFA Plus and um, take generous amounts of them. Always take them with food because you want your digestive juices going so that you can maximize absorption. And if you're, God forbid, had a gallbladder taken out, you are going to run much higher risks for deficiencies in LA and ALA. So it becomes extra important to take your LA and ALA supplementally, to take generous amounts of it, and to take it with food so you get some digestive juices going. Bile salts are also very important for absorption of these fatty acids. So if you've had a gallbladder removed, get yourself on your ultimate enzymes, which contain bile salts. Use Swedish bitters or digestive bitters with your meals, which will stimulate the secretion of bile. And even if you've had your gallbladder taken out, you're still making bile, albeit much less is getting into your intestine. So you can still use these bitter, digestive bitters and Swedish bitter foods with your meals to stimulate bile flow as well as the flow of digestive juices. One last thing I'll say is there is an omega-6 derivative, which is very valuable, particularly for skin issues and for female health issues, called GLA. You may have seen that on your Ultimate EFA or Ultimate EFA Plus nutrition facts. GLA is an omega-6 derivative. It stands for gamma-linolenic acid, and it has some tremendously valuable benefits for folks who are dealing with eczema, dry skin, as well as female health issues, and you will get that in your Ultimate EFA and Ultimate EFA Plus. I can think of no supplement that is more valuable than your Ultimate EFA and EFA Plus, even though there are lots of supplements that are just as valuable. I don't think there's any supplements that are more valuable. Let me think if there's anything else.
Well, there's one thing that you mentioned.
Yeah.
And you were saying about having your EFAs in a gel cap, which
Yes.
we've got gel cap.
Yes.
This is the Ultimate EFA. It is dark in color.
Yes.
Why would this be better than if we were taking this in a liquid?
The gel protection. Now, if you're taking a liquid and you keep it in a dark bottle, keep it in the fridge, use it fresh, you're going to minimize some of the issues, but the gel cap will stays for years. Your gel caps will last you a really long time. Great for traveling you can't really travel with the liquids, and they'll last you longer. The gelatin that surrounds the capsule is very, very protective. And then also, interestingly, EFAs, essential fatty acids, because of their electrical properties, this is what makes them so unstable and so labile, and so fragile, is they're highly, highly electrical, and they travel around with a little cloud of electricity. This cloud of electricity is very important for the electrical and information processing properties of the cell membrane. And in fact, this relationship between the cell membrane and essential fats and information processing is actually being leveraged by brain scientists, neuroscientists who are looking to take advantage of the bioelectronics of a cell membrane to create high-tech transhumanist robots. They're exploring how to use this information processing property to produce machine-man interfaces, essentially using the cell membrane's electrical nature to create interfaces, which basically are little computers that can hook up to big computers to actually have us loaded into the matrix, just like Neo in the movie. We're going to be hooked up via our cell membranes. That's that's not necessarily nutritional. I just found that to be an interesting point.
Wow. Well, we have lots of questions, Ben.
Yes.
And seriously, we have about 20 questions here. So
I believe
let's go ahead and get started.
Let me say one. If you don't mind, let me just say one last thing. A lot of folks who take the take the Ultimate Niacin will notice that they get the niacin flush. Well, it turns out that the anti-inflammatory benefits of your Ultimate EFAs and Ultimate EFA Plus can actually help folks who deal with the niacin flush, help reduce the incidence of the niacin flush or even eliminate the niacin flush, as in you'll never get the niacin flush if you use your Ultimate EFAs. They have anti-flushing properties is what I'm trying to say here.
Oh, fantastic. Maybe that's why I used to have niacin flush and I no longer do.
It could very well be. And I should maybe I should talk about the difference between the plus. You want to talk about the plus versus the regular Ultimate EFA?
Let's do that next time because we have so many questions.
Okay, go ahead. Let's start.
All right. And I got
that confusing?
No, from this guy right here.
All right.
Yeah, because pharmacist Ben, you're gonna tell us you got a hard stop when we got 50 other questions.
Literally, I do have a hard stop. I do.
Yeah, I know you do. So we literally have a lot of questions.
Okay, let's go.
I'm just gonna. I gotta. That the reason that we can say that omega-3s or ALA are important for heart health and brain health is because of Dr. Joel Wallach's lawsuit against the FDA and his certified health claim. He's the one that sold his farm in order to sue the FDA 8 times and won 8 times. And he's the only person alive who has more than one certified health claim, and he's got 3. And one's got to do with selenium, one's got to do with EFAs, and one's got to do with folic acid. So just as a point of note. Secondly, at Longevity, when we process the omegas, they do it in a nitrogen-rich room so that oxygen never touches them, protecting them. But one point that this guy in the video was making is that, as you mentioned, body temperature, he's asserting that the body temperature, no matter what antioxidant you use in conjunction to protect, your body temperature is going to break these fats down, make them rancid, and damage your liver. Or excuse me, damage.
Obviously, if that were to happen consistently, then nobody would get the benefit of ALA.
Well, this is his assertion. Why you should?
Then what's he saying? Nobody ever gets ALA in their system because it's always going to go rancid. Obviously, that doesn't make any sense.
Well, he's saying percentages. No matter how much you try and protect it,
there will be some. It's hard. You can't really quantify exactly the percentage. But the fact of the matter is because these things are essential. In other words, deficiencies will show up without them. You don't really have an option. And that's why you want to make sure you're using your ALA in a gel cap, which protects it, as well as with vitamin E and selenium and vitamin C and other nutrients, which is why you want to take your Ultimate EFAs as part of your entire Healthy Start Pack, which has the protective benefits. So, he says that, but then what's the option? Just not to take it, not to eat it? What do you do?
He's saying you can get your fats from eggs and chocolate.
But what do you do? Your eggs are the same thing's going to happen when you eat your eggs and when you eat your chocolate. You can't get around it. If it gets, obviously you need them. And yes, his point's well taken. They're very unstable, but the very instability is why they're so important. So you need them to be unstable. You can't have them locked up. So nature has designed a system where there's other nutrients which will help protect against their volatility or their fragility. So yeah, they are fragile. He's right, but that doesn't mean you don't need them. You do need them. And the very fragility is why they're so important, particularly for the cell membranes. And when it comes to ALA, for the nerve cell membranes, neuronal membranes.
Ben, you're the man. I'm going to leave. I do have off-topic questions.
You're leaving?
We have plenty of on-topic questions, so I'm going to let someone else speak.
Go ahead.
And I had her up. Phyllis. Did Phyllis get dropped?
Phyllis is right here. Hi, Phyllis.
Hey, Ben.
Hi, Phyllis.
Hello.
Happy holidays.
We have so many good questions. You're going to have to do another show on this, but
just fun questions.
We'll get right into them. There's 3 from YouTube. One is Hunter, and he's on a calorie-restricted diet. He eats once a day.
Okay.
And he takes a whole bunch of products with his meal. But he says, how much fat does he need to eat dietarily if he's taking our EFA Plus and our vitamin D? In other words, does he have to take them with his meal? Or can he take them other times, I think?
Well, you take them other times, but you'll maximize the absorption if you take with your meals. Like, you maximize the absorption of all nutrients. Nutrients should be thought of like food. They're the active ingredients in food. So if you're eating food all your digestive juices and all the digestive machinery is prepared to absorb your mighty 90 essential nutrients. So it's always going to be beneficial to take them with foods, your ultimate EFAs in particular, because fats are a little bit tricky for the body to absorb. While bile is flowing, hydrochloric acid is being secreted, pancreatic juices are being synthesized and secreted. So if you take your ultimate EFAs and your other nutrients with foods, the system is ready to absorb into the bloodstream through the intestine. And it's always in your interest to take them with foods.
So Hunter just needs to suck it up and take all his stuff with his food.
You don't. I mean, you'll still get some benefit taking it on an empty stomach if you're on the calorie restricted diet. You still want to take your supplements. It's not like you're going to get no benefit, but your benefit is maximized if your digestive system is ready to roll. Yeah, this is like you're basically digesting. It's what you're talking about when you take your supplements. They're like foods.
Mm-hmm.
The active ingredients in foods.
That's good to know. Dennis on YouTube is asking, are flaxseed oils still good for us in 2020?
Yes, flaxseed oils are phenomenal for you, but there's problems. They got to be fresh. If it's in a gel cap, you're okay with it. But if you're doing liquid flaxseed oil, you got it fresh. It's got to be cold, kept in a dark bottle. There are some things in flaxseed oil that is pro-estrogenic. And there are some people who feel like if you have problems with estrogen, you might want to stay away from them. I don't believe that personally. But you do only want small amounts of these. You don't want too much. Like if you're doing your capsules, 9 to 12 capsules, if you're doing your, or we say 3 to 12 capsules, really, if you follow the directions. And if you're doing the straight liquid, a teaspoon or a couple teaspoonfuls. The human body didn't evolve eating a lot high concentrations of oils. I mean, think about it. When did we really start processing oils to the point where you could get a bottle of oil from a bunch of seeds? I mean, when you think about it, that's a lot of processing that has to take place. I mean, how much oil is in a grain wheat grain or a seed? It's this big. You're not going to need a lot of oil. So in order to get an oil in a full bottle, you've got to press a lot of seeds. You got to crack a lot of eggs to make an omelet, so to speak, if I can mix a metaphor in here. The human body didn't really evolve to have that much oil in that concentrated form. So these things should be used medicinally and therapeutically much more than as food. So flaxseed oil as a medicine and used therapeutically. And when I say medicine, I mean a nutritional medicine. A teaspoon, a couple teaspoons, that kind of thing. You still got to be a little bit careful with these oils. And that's why I like the Gelcaps. That's why I like the ultimate EFAs and the EFAs so much, because you get enough, but you get them in a protected form, and you're not going to overdo them the way you would if you had a liquid oil.
Excellent point. If you're taking those gel caps, which are ideal, you don't need to add on that much more of that liquid.
No, you don't need to add any if you're taking 9 or 12 or even 15. Like I say, sometimes I'll take 15, especially in the wintertime when your skin tends to be dry. I haven't used a moisturizer in my entire life, and I've been using EFAs as supplements pretty much my entire life. Entire adult life anyway.
You are a good advertisement. Now, Dylan has a question. He says that many functional medical practitioners now recommend skipping ALA because the body barely converts ALA to EPA and DHA. Isn't this bad advice? And I think you addressed this earlier, didn't you?
It is bad advice. The body does have a hard time converting ALA into EPA and DHA. Like I said, you have to be firing on all biochemical cylinders. Particularly if you're hypothyroid, you're going to have a problem. That being said, ALA has its own value. ALA is not just valuable because it converts. ALA also balances out LA. So ALA has its own benefits even before it's converted. That being said, if you really want to get EPA and DHA, use your ultimate EFAs, which contain fish oil in there.
Beautiful. I'll definitely be watching this again. Thank you so much.
Okay.
All right. So I have a question, Ben.
Yes.
I know vitamin C is like nature's laxative. You mentioned
what vitamin did you say?
Vitamin C.
It's
you take it to bowel tolerance. Tolerance.
Yeah, it's not a great laxative because the way it works is it pulls water into your intestine. So it acts as what they call, and this is kind of an interesting term, an osmotic evacuant. Osmotic means it sucks up water. Evacuant means it evacuates stuff. So it acts like an osmotic evacuant. Will suck up water, and you'll have, like
Deluge.
explosive diarrhea. Yes. So it's not and it also causes some cramping too. So it's not a great laxative, but it does have laxative-like effects. So I wouldn't call it. Yeah, I wouldn't recommend using it as a laxative unless you had, you were in dire need or you had no other options. But it does have those kinds of laxative-like effects, even though it's not a pleasant. It won't cause a pleasant bowel movement, but it will clean it. Yes.
So my reason for bringing that up is, how do we know when we have enough EFAs?
You don't, except for your benefits. Your skin will be nice. Menstrual cramps will go away. If you have any inflammatory issues, those will resolve. The best marker is going to be female health issues in your skin, but you're not going to know.
Okay. Because I do know people that when they take so many EFAs, they get a bloody nose.
Well, why would that be? Remember, EFAs are anti-inflammatory.
They're anti-inflammatory.
And they also pull in electrical energy to cells, including red blood cells, or oxygen to red blood cells. So they will liquefy the blood.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a good thing. You shouldn't get a nosebleed. If you get a nosebleed from too many EFAs, there's got to be you got to really do a lot of EFAs in order to get a nosebleed just from EFAs. There's usually going to be something else going on. Just EFAs are not going to cause a nosebleed, but they will liquefy the blood. They will improve blood liquidity, and that's very important because liquefaction of the blood or blood liquidity counteracts dirty blood, which is the major cause of health challenges, which is the only cause of chronic health challenges, ultimately. So liquefaction of the blood is a good thing. Now, if you're on blood thinners and the doctor says stay away from your ultimate EFAs or anything that can cause more thinning of the blood, and vitamin E also, by the way, has blood thinning effects, it's probably a good idea to take less drugs and still take your EFAs than stay on the same amount of drugs and not take your EFAs, given that your ultimate EFAs have benefits for the entire cardiovascular system, including antihypertensive benefits, anti-atherosclerotic benefits, anti-inflammatory benefits, antiarrhythmic benefits. There's so many wonderful circulatory and cardiovascular benefits for the EFAs. It seems tragic to avoid them just because they might interfere with your blood thinners. I say take less blood thinners and stay on your ultimate EFAs.
I agree. All right,
and also,
let's go.
I forgot to mention that the brain is, obviously, most people know this, is a fatty organ. We're all fatheads. And your EFAs will also support neuronal health for folks who are dealing with mental health issues or who just want to make sure that their memory stays intact as they get older and they maintain their cognitive sharpness with age. Your ultimate EFAs are also important for brain health and as antidepressants also, now that I think about it.
Lots of
yeah, so many different
reasons.
things. Yes, absolutely.
Lots of good reasons. All right, we have 3 more hands, and I know we have a dozen more questions. So let's see how many we can get in the next 4 minutes. Verna, go ahead and unmute yourself.
Hello, hey. Thank you so much for this. This has been wonderful.
Hi, Verna.
So, hi, Dan. Good to see you. So this situation with hormonal imbalance, I do have a situation, or my doctor had said I have a hormonal imbalance. So taking
what does that mean? Hormones are always in balance or out of balance or imbalance. They're always being modified. So when you say hormonal imbalance, what specifically are you talking? Excuse me, what are you talking about? Estrogen and progesterone, or?
Yes, I guess that I'm in menopause. So
okay. So so that's a little bit more complicated than we talk about in 3 minutes. But that being said, EFAs will help support the production of estrogen and progesterone for that matter, but especially estrogen. Estrogen levels, your progesterone levels drop much faster than your estrogen levels. So many of the symptoms of menopause are associated with deficiencies in progesterone versus estrogen. You're always making estrogen as long as you have body fat. Estrogen is made in body fat. And for guys out there, you should know the more body fat you're carrying, the more estrogen you're making. For women, likewise, the more body fat you're carrying, the more estrogen you're making. So those are good reasons to lose body fat, but progesterone, that's not made in body fat. That progesterone levels drop quickly. And considering that progesterone is very calming to the body and estrogen is very stimulating to the body, progesterone is anti-inflammatory and estrogen is inflammatory. Estrogen activates the immune system and progesterone calms down the immune system. Estrogen is associated with cramping and progesterone is associated with anti-cramping. It makes a lot more sense to try progesterone first before you get on hormone replacement therapy that features estrogen, given the non-toxicity as well as the consistent flow of estrogen, given the non-toxicity of progesterone relative to the consistent production of estrogen. I always tell people to start off with progesterone. And by the way, men benefit from progesterone supplementation as well as women. It's not just for female health issues. Progesterone has calming effects, has muscle building effects, anabolic effects that men can enjoy. And estrogen is also associated with inflammatory issues in men, particularly prostate issues, and progesterone can help balance that out.
Okay, thank you very much.
EFAs are also going to help you make estrogen. EFAs are also, your ultimate EFA and EFA plus will also help you make estrogen. I'm sorry, go ahead, Myrna.
All right, and would you recommend, I believe that EFAs would be good for a person who had a condition of asthma,
Absolutely.
in comparison to using steroids? I have a nephew that uses
steroids are for emergencies.
He has asthma.
Yeah, steroids are steroids suppress the immune system. Anytime somebody gives you a medical practitioner dispenses a steroid, whether it's an inhaler steroid or a topical steroid or an oral steroid, what they're telling you is your health challenge is associated with defense, i.e. immunity. Let me say that again. Anytime a doctor or a healthcare professional prescribes a steroid, whether it's an oral steroid or whether it's a topical steroid or whether it's an inhaled steroid, what they're telling you is that your health challenge is a response to an offending agent, because that's how steroids work. They suppress the defensive response. So asthma is a defensive response. So they give you a steroid to suppress a defensive response. But the real question is that any healthcare professional or patient should ask is, why do I have a defensive response? So if you have asthma, you should be saying, why do I have a defensive response? Well, if you have a defensive response, that means by definition, literally, you have an offending agent. Something's inducing that defensive response. So if you're a medical professional, you'll say, well, let's just shut down the defensive response. But if you're an intelligent medical professional or intelligent or thoughtful patient, you'll say, what's causing the defensive response? What is the offending agent that has got into my body? And as we said a bazillion times, there's only two ways offending agents get into the body. Either injection or you're eating it. And most people who have asthma will know that they also have food problems. In fact, it's almost impossible to have asthma without having a food problem. So that would be the first place to work on, is the digestive system and leaky gut and histamine and all the things we talk about when it comes to blood toxicity and immune activation. In an emergency, you need a steroid, probably, an inhaler, so you can breathe, but you don't want to be using them long term. There's all kinds of horrible long-term toxicities associated with chronic use of steroids, including bone thinning and accelerated aging and problems with slow healing. And there's all kinds of issues associated with chronic use of steroids, and they should be used only for an emergency, or best to maybe just to hold down the fort until you can get nutrition and digestive strategies put into place.
All right. Thank you so much, Ben. We have one more, or we have two more hands now up. Do you have time for another question?
Yeah, let's do one more.
All right. Keely, go ahead and unmute yourself. Hello, hello. Can you unmute yourself? All right. She's not unmuting. We're going to go to the next hand. Oh, wait. Nope, she unmuted. She beat you. Sorry, AJ. Go ahead, Keely.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, hi,
Yes,
Keely.
ma'am.
I'm having a problem on the computer, so I'm just shutting it down.
Don't worry.
I actually talked to you last night with you and AJ. It was in reference to the lady that had the perioral dermatitis,
Yes.
72 years old.
Yes.
Okay, so you
72.
asked me to call back in.
Yeah, perioral dermatitis. I'm sorry we didn't get to talk earlier. I want to spend some time. Maybe talk next week about it. It's breakouts along the mouth. Perioral means around the mouth. Always look to, like, oh, it's all skin issues and all breakout issues and really all issues. Digestive health. Oftentimes, perioral dermatitis is associated with hypo or achlorhydria, low stomach acid. So what I would, and then you might want to ask Keely, ask this patient, does she have heartburn or digestive problems or food intolerances or food allergies? I would get her on the ultimate enzymes, maybe a little bit a little apple cider vinegar aloe juice with the ultimate enzymes to stimulate acid.
Well, the challenge that she's had is for 50 years she's had hypothyroid, Raynaud's, and osteopenia.
Oh, that's the same person with all
That's
those
the
things.
same person, and she's been on all of the tetracyclines, the minocyclines, and for like 10 years.
Well, pharmacy 101 is you don't stay on tetracycline for more than 2 weeks. So
Well,
right
there
away,
you go.
well, there you go. So you're going to be dealing with dysbiosis, or she's going to be dealing with dysbiosis, which can cause all of those problems. And I wish I hate to do this to you, but it's such a good question. It's such an important question. I really want to spend some time with it. So can you call next week?
I can. She's
Call
just
next week and we'll get you at the beginning and make sure we get you at the beginning. But for
okay,
perioral dermatitis in general, let me just say this real quick, Keely. Let me just say this real quick. For perioral dermatitis in general, think hypochlorhydria or achlorhydria, your ultimate enzymes, really the whole digestive support system, including the Nightly Essence, Ultimate Microbiome, Dr. Ariaza's liver cleanse, but especially the ultimate enzymes.
Okay, she's been on the products for 4 months and she's getting worse. Her faces.
She's getting what?
She's been on the products for 4 months.
And
her face is actually getting worse.
Well, she's not doing, getting on the products, that doesn't say anything. Because first of all, what are the products? And also, what the heck is she eating?
She actually has been pretty clean since
You don't
February.
know that she's pretty clean. You don't know.
She's been keeping a diary for me.
Okay, well then that's definitely helpful. But you don't know what pretty clean is because she's got symptoms.
Well,
right?
That is true.
So, and that's really important because patients don't know. We don't know. We can only go by the symptoms. So you say, oh, well, she's eating bread. Well, we don't know if bread's a problem or not. We got to go by the symptoms. If she's eating bread and she's asymptomatic, there's no symptoms, then it's probably not a problem, although there could be hidden symptoms. But if she's breaking out and she's not eating bread, well, there's still a problem. So you got to go by the symptoms. Where there's smoke, there's fire. You can't say, oh, well, I put a smoke detector in and I put asbestos in the walls and it doesn't matter. You got smoke, lady. Or you got smoke, sir. It's there. That means there's a fire. It doesn't matter what precautions you took. If you got smoke, you got a fire. If you got perioral dermatitis and she's getting worse, you said, it's clearly something's getting into her body. This is called a first principle, okay? And this is the last thing I'll say. If you're symptomatic, something is getting in that shouldn't, and something is not getting in that should. And we really want to keep it to that level. I love talking about all this stuff, but you don't want to overthink it. Remember, the worst or the most common health challenge that smart people suffer from is overthinkitis. We overthink. If you got a health challenge, the wrong stuff is getting in and the right stuff isn't. And it's really that simple. And we just got to figure out what the wrong stuff is, and that's why we talk about food diaries, etc. And we know the right stuff is the Mighty 90 essential nutrients, plus the accessory nutritional supplements that are formed around the hub of the Mighty 90. Okay, I got a bowl. I'm late. Thank you so much, everybody. Happy holidays. We'll see you in another Bright Bite. AJ and Rebecca and Ruth Ellen, thank you so much. And next week on Daily Doc, thank you, everybody.
Thank you so much, Pharmacist Ben. Thank you for all of those that are joining us today. Your amazing questions that are coming from real life, things that are happening, going on around us, whether it's us personally, whether it's those that we know, or we love, care about. If I could get the people, I care about all of you on here, but if I could get my co-hosts up on the screen with me, that would be absolutely fantastic. There are so many questions coming in. I have taken notes. I'm sending them to Pharmacist Ben as topics for not only Daily with Doc, but also our Pharmacist Ben Bites. Want to make sure that you are following us on all the different platforms, or you can do, if you don't know what platforms those are, just do a search, Daily with Doc and Becca. In any browser, it's going to come up with all the different platforms that you can see us on, hear us on. We appreciate all of you joining us. Amazing group of individuals, questions coming in like nobody's business. But we could not do this program without you, and we couldn't have it streamed and run smoothly without my team. So here on the Zoom here with us, we have Albert joining us from South Africa, letting people in so they can actually hear it live. We have Kaylee, who is helping us with social media and getting us out more visible and more interactions out on social media. Thank you so much, Kaylee. We have Ruth Ellen Sanchez, who is my executive production manager, helping to put the stream out and putting it all together and stay organized. We have Phyllis, who is joining us. She's out on all the different platforms, bringing those questions in and asking them for you. Thank you so much, Phyllis, for doing that. We have Marilyn, who is here in the Zoom with us, putting information into the chat. So if you can't take notes fast enough or you can't listen fast enough, be assured she can type fast enough so you can reread it, not only have it audibly, but also visually, and take screenshots so you can refer to it later. So that's only available here in the live Zoom. You can catch us Monday through Friday from 12 to 1 p.m. Pacific time, 1 to 2 Mountain, 2 to 3 Central, and 3 to 4 Eastern, and actually around the world. So right now we are coming up on 11 p.m. in South Africa. So if you're in the South Africa area, you want to catch our show, that's 10 to 11 p.m. in South Africa. And last but not least, we have our Director of Digital Marketing, AJ, who is helping to get us out on all those different platforms and helping us to streamline so that we can more efficiently and effectively reach you where you're at and provide the information that you need to go from survive to thrive. Folks, if you were invited to this program by somebody specific, it is most important that you get back with the person that shared this program with you. They cared enough about you to take the time. So please take the time and get back with them. Tell them thank you. Let them know what you liked best or found most interesting about the program. And they're also going to be your point of contact for getting the products that are needed to be able to address what you have going on within your body, your family, your community. If there's nobody to thank, we do have a call team at 855-949-3377. Again, that's 855-949-3377. And if you would like to learn more about Dr. Wallach's philosophies and how he has taken his research and put together these formulas and used them as solutions, you are more than welcome to join us in our coaching program. You can find more information about that at coach.dailywithdoc.com. And I have Dr. Wallach calling me right now. So everybody have a fabulous day. Until next time, bye for now. Welcome to Daily with Doc and Becca. This program is for educational purposes only. The statements in this program have not been evaluated by the FDA. The content is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any diseases, nor is it intended to take the place of your primary care physician. Testimonials are shared as individual experiences of the individual sharing their testimony. Results vary and may not be typical. We do not make any claims regarding health or income. As an empowered individual, you do have options available. We are honored to have the founding father of the science of epigenetics guiding us with the best options to obtain or maintain optimal health, Dr. Joel Wallach. Welcome to Daily with Doc and Becca. This program is for educational purposes only. The statements in this program have not been evaluated by the FDA. The content is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any diseases, nor is it intended to take the place of your primary care physician. Testimonials are shared as individual experiences of the individual sharing their testimony. Results vary and may not be typical. We do not make any claims regarding health or income. As an empowered individual, you do have options available. We are honored to have the founding father of the science of epigenetics guiding us with the best options to obtain or maintain optimal health,